This is Worldview on Chicago Public Radio, and one of the cool things that happens every year for the last 19 years is the Midwest Renewable Energy Association's Energy Fair, and it starts now on Friday, and it's running through the weekend, June 20th to the 22nd, and it takes place in Custer, Wisconsin. It's out there virtually in the middle of a cornfield, and lots of people from around here go up there and check it out. There's 270 exhibitors. There's over 200 workshops, about a dozen going at any given time. And they're on all sorts of different unusual topics. Of course, everything that has to do with renewable energy. But there's also topics like carry it all by bike or root cellaring, if you're wanting to get into root cellaring. And another catchy workshop this year is Design Eye for the Green Guy. It's being offered by Evanston architect Nathan Kipnis, and he specializes in green and sustainable home design. We have a link to his website if you want to check out some of the homes that he's designed at chicagopublicradio.org/worldview. And while you're listening to the segment, you can see what he's designed. And a lot of people don't think green and design go together. But Nathan Kipnis told me that it is true, they do go together.
I think you can do it both ways. I think you can certainly take those new elements that you're talking about and be smart about how you're designing them and how you're integrating them and use them as design elements. You can also look backwards and look at how things were done before we had all this cheap power. And you can look at the historic precedents of older homes and how they worked before there was a grid and then add to them. And we do that too. We do both modern and we do historic homes. So it'll work either way.
When you do a modern house, and you've got an example of a modern house that's up in Door County that you've done, and it's high ceilings and a lot of light going in. How green is a house like that?
That particular one is probably our greenest home. And what that one was based on was this very site-specific, wanting to take the natural ventilation and really enhance that with the form of the house. And so we look at that as a very modern home, but really it's coming from a barn form. And the form of a barn is such that it takes the airflow up and ventilates it out the top, and that was done in the past to ventilate for drying hay. But here we're doing it for a summer home, and we're just taking those forms and being very modern about how I'm composing them, and it's really great. And it also helps with natural daylight too. It's just flooded with great lighting, so we barely have lights on, and it works really well.
So how does that house do with air conditioning? I mean, do you have air conditioning if you're trying to shoot the stuff out the top?
Well, I didn't want to put air conditioning in, and I think that it doesn't need air conditioning, and the owners were pretty much in agreement, but they said, you know what, let's just put air conditioning in the master bedroom. The husband actually said that. And, we had a discussion about it, and in the end we did put it just in there. He said he's never turned it on.
Oh, no kidding.
And it works really well. I mean, really, they've got three great things going for them. They're by the lake, they're up north, and they're in a shaded forest area. So all those things should help quite a bit with natural cooling, and it has been.
What about a big suburban-type house? Because you've built houses that look like those big suburban houses. How do you make something like that green?
It's very difficult, and we get discussions with clients about this, and I say we should make it smaller, and, they don't necessarily want to make it smaller because the lands cost a lot, and they want to maximize that for the land. And so the best strategy I've ever come up with is to zone it into basically a collection of smaller houses. So if we can take the mechanical system and break it into smaller parts, and that way they can be on or off at different times of the day automatically, then that helps make the house much smaller of a carbon impact and energy impact.
Explain that more, because how do you do something like that? Do you mean like you have a furnace that really only goes in here and here, and then you have some passive solar that works here and here? Or?
A lot of times in those houses we use radiant heat. And so in the winter, we can zone radiant floors very specifically. You can very actually inexpensively zone those. So we could have up to 10 or 12 zones. That we could have a basement. We could have the first floor around a fireplace, another zone, where there's sun coming in, upstairs, the master bedroom, and then other bedrooms. So as people come and go during the day, the temperature's going up and down in different parts of the house, no one will care about that, but it really reduces the energy use.
You do projects that seem like they're mostly one singular project, and you design for a singular space. Is the really green design breakthrough out there for the people who are designing subdivisions, for people who make mass housing? Are those people doing better at being green? Are they doing much at all?
Well, just to let you know, some of the work I'm doing is multifamily, but we do primarily a lot of single-family homes. And to just have a single-family home doesn't excuse you from not being green. It is better to be in a higher density, so multifamily is going to be a better solution. And then where the home is located has a big impact. So if someone's doing a big subdivision, but it's so far out that it's a bedroom community, that's a tremendous negative when you factor in the transportation aspects of that. So you're better off with a multifamily, let's say, in the city. That's probably your best bet. And there's been some reports and studies about the energy use and carbon use per household, and it's much smaller when it gets into the city.
All right, so just not even the design aspect of it is the big factor for it.
It's a combination of things. And so if you're in a kind of a self-contained community, that's the best kind of setup. So, where my office is in Evanston is a nice little actual town. You can live and work there, and that's a good green thing by itself. And then to have a green home, that's even better.
You're listening to Worldview from Chicago Public Radio. I'm Jerome McDonnell, speaking with Nathan Kipnis. He is an architect who specializes in green and sustainable design, and he's going to be this year at the Midwest Renewable Energy Fair this weekend and speaking at Saturday at 2 and Sunday at 11. He's talking on Design Eye for the Green Guy. How do you make homes really energy efficient? If you were going to tell people right now what to do to have good energy efficient homes, what did they do?
That is a really big question, because what we'd like to do is look at each site very specifically. Block by block, there might be a different answer. But generally speaking, a lot of the homes here in the Chicago area are existing. So the very first step is to have the house analyzed by an energy home rater.
Are there a lot of these guys, energy home raters?
Yeah, there are, and you can look them up online. I think there's a website, Illinois Home Rater Association, I believe. And to get one of those people in there to analyze the house to see where you're starting from. There's houses in this area that are built in so many different decades, and they were all built differently, that they all have different answers. And the thing you have to keep in mind is, on a rehab like that, you have to look at the whole system of the house. You can't just replace windows and think you're done. You've now impacted the way the energy transfer is through the windows, but now the walls might become the worst place, or the mechanical system. And so what I like to do is look at the entire envelope of the house and the mechanical system all as one, and you have to modify or improve them in a single holistic manner.
Are there things that you think are underutilized in creating more energy efficient homes? Is it solar? Is it some aspect of energy creation that we should do a lot more of?
Well, I think solar is a great solution, and what you have to do is see if it makes sense for that house, because there's a lot of trees in certain neighborhoods that aren't going to allow you to do it. But the first solar subdivision in the United States was in Glenview and Glencoe, and who would have thought that? And some people ask me or tell me, Chicago doesn't have enough sun. Well, yes, it does. It has plenty of sun. There's the ability to do passive solar photovoltaics, which generate electricity, and solar thermal, which generates hot water. Solar thermal is an excellent solution that can be tied into the hot water system for the domestic water and for the